You join us today as we start exploring Hawaii's Big Island. We're here for a family get-together, but there's got to be photo opportunities here, right? Early one morning, Mrs. Faceless and I, along with Faceless brother-in-law and Faceless sister-in-law, headed out. So we're heading for the observatories at the top of Mauna Kea. For those that like wildlife, here's an osprey. And an osprey coming into land. The more observant of you may have noticed this weird cloud here. More on that in a minute. The observatories at Mauna Kea are at quite an altitude, so the prudent thing to do is to stop for 20 to 30 minutes on the way up, and the visitor centre is an ideal location for that. And as you can see, that cloud formation is quite interesting. More so because when we went inside we could see on the TV a live feed of Kilauea erupting, which it hadn't been when we'd set out about 2 hours earlier. Shortly after leaving the visitor centre, the paved road ends, but the torment of an erupting Kilauea didn't. The road itself is in pretty fair condition, although it is steep and there's plenty of switchbacks. A few pull-outs to stop and take in the views, plus a few spicy drop-offs here and there. Towards the top, the road is paved again, and with the observatories tantalisingly close, it was just a few more switchbacks to negotiate, until our ascent was complete. (13,796 feet above sea level, and I'd not even broken into a sweat, although the lack of oxygen was obvious. It may be barren up here, but the views really are something to behold. Mrs. Faceless wasted no time in setting up, and then faffing with something in her pockets, giving me a great first holiday image. Being above the clouds with such clear skies, you can understand why they put the observatories up here. I'll save you the monotony of this droning noise, but suffice it to say, the engine lacked sufficient power to slow the car down by simply using a lower gear, so I had to be careful not to cook the brakes at this altitude. After another quick stop at the ranger station, we headed back to meet family in Kona, and once again, we got an osprey sighting. An early start to beat the crowds, we arrived at Rainbow Falls in Wailuku River State Park, hoping for some clouds, or even a rainbow. Sadly, the sky was a flat grey, but looked like it would burn off quickly. At least there's a good flow of water and everything is looking lush and green, and there's no harsh highlights. So with no one else around, we set up to grab some images. First here, then here, looking for that perfect composition. And this is what I settled for. The waterfall flowing into the shot on a third, and using the foliage to frame the image and add foreground interest. Cutting the flat grey sky out of frame, and finally taking two images, one with near focus and one with far, just to ensure everything is sharp. It's not as windy today, but I'm still having a quick check for sharpness, and there are no stray elements creeping into the edge of the shot. The next image at a further focus, so I can stack it if need be in post. Now, rinse and repeat for portrait orientation. With that image done, Mrs. Faceless dutifully appeared and decided to steal my composition and make it better. So then I showed her my first image. Which she liked, and so she repositioned. But wasn't quite happy with her first attempt, so tried again. There, much better. With the sun breaking through and images done, we headed to meet up with family. And do the family thing for the day. As evening rolled around, we headed out with Faceless brother-in-law to scout a location for the next morning, and hopefully a sunrise. Pele's Well, as I heard it called, is a lava tube extending into the ocean with a partially collapsed roof, creating a blowhole for wave surges. We'd timed this for a retreating tide, but we're still taking this seriously. So with cameras rolling, we studied the wave patterns and where the water surges were flowing. You can see that marked here. We watched here for a good time, having first walked down the beach and talked to a few locals. It's a flat grey sky right now, but a falling tide and perfect cloud at sunrise tomorrow is on the forecast. But that is just the forecast. There's a distinct ridge which is about 12 to 18 inches above where the highest waves were reaching. This seemed like a perfect location to head for, as it's situated between two of the vents. And here we are, on that ridge. The tide is still retreating, and here's a big wave. And there are two vents I mentioned. Those big waves seem to be every 2 or so minutes during our observations, but arrive in sets of 2 or 3. So out came the super long tripod so Faceless brother-in-law could stand on that high point and reach out over the vent with the camera. Well, despite the water flowing around the high point he was on and him barely getting his toes wet, I'm sure he puckered there.
Turn right, then take the first left.
Stupidly early the next morning, and here we are. Thank goodness for time zones, as I think it's just gone 5 AM. And yes, that was the moon still high in the sky there.
Turn left.
We're having to take an unorthodox route into our location, as the main gate doesn't open until 8 AM, I believe. So here's proof a little local knowledge goes a long way. Mainly down unlit and unpaved roads. Well, chalk another loss up to the forecasters. Just the very merest hint of clouds. But it's a lovely morning with fresh sea air. It's very peaceful, apart from the airplanes. so let's just relax and take it all in. This was the view looking towards Mauna Loa, I think it is, with the sun starting to appear from behind it, and backlighting those two trees standing proud of the jet black volcanic rocks. Mrs. Faceless, meanwhile, had headed with Faceless' brother-in-law for the vents. The tide was lower and much calmer than the previous evening. Knowing where to perch ourselves meant we weren't even getting splashed at this point, whilst getting a pretty good view of the vents. Just a shame about the sky. And here comes a big wave. After a while it became pretty easy to pick them out. Although it's still an impressive sight to see, we maintained our safety first approach, sticking to higher ground.
Okay, are we ready?
Look at these two, sunning themselves. Anyway, we were sure we could do better, so a couple of mornings later, and a promise of more cloud at sunrise, we were back. And there was more cloud alright, but that made for a much more interesting backdrop to those two trees. So what we have is we have both storm clouds and light. If only we can get the perfect mix of the two. Mrs. Faceless couldn't decide on a 3x1 or square crop. Here's my adjusted comp. I wanted to take this as a vertical portrait image, but I couldn't get that dead tree trunk to the left out, so I'll shoot it in landscape and then decide later if I want to crop and clone that out. A little bit of exposure blending here. The trees and rocks are really dark and the sky is getting brighter with the sun peeking over the volcanoes. Whilst I was finishing this shot, Mrs. Faceless once more ventured to the vents. The clouds were burning away rapidly out to sea, but a golden glow was working its way across the land and onto those rocks. All that was left for us here was a sunset shot, and that evening we had our chance. So back once again. After noting the wave patterns, we headed for the ridge, and as you can see, the sun is starting to cast a fabulous orange glow across the water and the wet rocks. Even at this speed, you can see how quickly the rocks are turning orange with the glow of the sun. All we had to do was wait for the sun to get under those clouds and hopefully not get socked in on the horizon. Thanks for watching, and until next time.